Good morning. I'm very grateful to you for dedicating your time to conduct this interview. That is very important for me for my research because, as you know, and I will give you my research when I finish everything. As you know, my research is about the prenatal existence and the communication with the mother, with the from the conscious of the prenatal conscious with the mother. So your testimony is really, really important and transcendental for my research. And so thank you very much, Christian.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It's very important research.
Yes, I think so. I would like to introduce you to those people who don't know about who you are, because maybe here in Spain, this topic is not very common, and I think not everybody knows about this. So I'm going to introduce you, okay?
Sure.
Christian Sundberg is a person who has lived experiences that are almost unique and truly very special. At one point in his life, he began to remember his life before the present incarnation, the process and emotions he experienced before, and the moment he entered his body, among other things. After integrating these memories and becoming aware of what they mean for the human being, he decided to share them and wrote A Walk in the Physical, Understanding the Human Experience within the larger spiritual context. Welcome, dear Christian.
Thank you so much.
The first thing that is important to say is that these memories you experienced did not occur when you were a child under 6 years old, which is the most usual. Your childhood was normal, isn't it?
Yes, so I had some pre-birth memory up until the age of 5 or 6, but it left me completely by the age of 5 or 6. So other than that, yes, of course, my childhood was normal. I had no recollection of this after the age of 5 or 6. Yeah.
Yes,
but it didn't return until I was 30. My body is 44 right now. So between the ages of 6 and 30, I had no memory of this at all. Yeah.
Yes, and how was it possible? What things were happening for you to experience these memories?
Yeah. So on the human surface, at the human level, what happened was I took up a long-term meditation practice at the age of 30, and I certainly didn't expect anything. I just started meditating at first because it felt nice. It felt good to have some relief from the thinking, but I stuck to it. I meditated every day, probably 40 or 60 minutes every day for probably 6 months or something. But I think after the first 2 or 3 months is when I had my first non-physical experience. So it wasn't the pre-birth memory yet, but I had an experience that was not physical. It was what we call an out-of-body or a pre-out-of-body state. And it was so real. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to keep going. Like, this is real, I need to keep doing this. And eventually I just realized the pre-birth memory was there. And it wasn't strange. It was not alien at all. It was like the most normal thing in the world. It was like somebody had just blown leaves off of the ground and there was the grass. It wasn't strange. And so I didn't even consider it as that unique at first. I was just aware that, I remember choosing this. I remember coming. I know we're not from here. And one day I mentioned it to somebody that I knew, a friend, and they said, wow, that's really extraordinary. And I thought, is it? Like, because when you're at that level of being, when you have let go of the earthly thought and stopped focusing on the thinking and focusing on the sense data, and you're just fully aware, fully alert, fully present, there's this space in which that higher portion of the self can rise up all on its own, and it's very real and very normal.
So at the first you were just practicing meditation?
Yes.
And strange things began to happen. So and you said that it was at your 30?
Yes. Yep. I was 30 years old.
But you are now 34.
I'm 44 now.
44. Oh,
yep.
Okay.
It's 14 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, 14 years ago. And this was the meditation, but how the memories began.
So they're not like earthly memories. So it's not like, it's hard to explain. They're just there, all of it at once. And it's more real and more visceral, more tangible, actually, much deeper than any earthly memory. It's just there within the being. It's so obvious and real once you let go. At least for me, the way I experienced it is once I was not focusing on the human thoughts and the human story, once I fully accepted everything here, and I didn't have any rejection up to here, then the doors just opened to the memory, and it was just there. It wasn't like a big epiphany moment. It was like they were just there. I don't know how to describe it. They weren't covered up anymore. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So you had the information already.
Yeah, well, it's already there in at the soul level. You see, it's not like a new thing, really. It's more like you already know. Like we all already know deep, deep, deep down that we're more than human.
Yeah.
And the intuition tends to sense, okay, I know this is not all of what's going on.
Oh,
So what I'm mentioning is kind of like it's like a deep, tangible realization of that.
so now I'd like you to, if you could you share with us how the process of arriving in the body was like? Because
Sure.
suppose that we have all experienced something similar, but very few people can remember it.
Yes.
Or maybe you prefer to begin at the point with the pre-existence. Maybe in that point to tell us.
Yeah. So it's very difficult to put any of this in words. I always have to say that first, because this is not something that is subject to English or Spanish or any language. It can't be put in words, because words are our earthly symbols,
Yeah.
and where we come from so fully transcends the earth context. We're much, much bigger. We're not limited in any of the ways that we assume we are on earth. So language is just very poor, very poor. So I guess I won't share my entire experience. I have a number of times, it's on YouTube, but I can say, so I remember wanting to engage and process a certain fear, actually. And so I remember being in the in-between life state and reviewing with a guide my state, who I am, who I had been, what I had experienced and known. And I remember them offering me a life that wasn't this life. It was an immediately preceding life. And I remember accepting that life and accepting the veil. So both for that life and for this life, I have keen memory of the process of accepting the veil and the bodily constraints. So after this, so that first experience, I unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, it was just a choice I made. I rejected that life after I incarnated. I was in the fetus in the womb.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so full of fear because the limitations of being physical were so extreme. And I felt cut off. I felt cut off from everything that I am and everything that we are. And I was immediately filled with fear. So I rejected that life. I fought my way out. And that killed the fetus that was to be my body in that life. And I had a life review, just like near-death experiencers describe. I could see how my fear impacted the mother, and not only the mother, but hundreds of other people who the mother would interact with. And I was responsible for that, because I rejected the life. And I knew it was okay. From that point of view, in the higher state, it's okay. This is just like a big play. But I still had this intention to process this fear. And so eventually they brought me this life, and I reviewed this life in incredible detail. I reviewed millions and millions of possibilities of what this life might be like. So, like, what it would be like to be me as Christian the human.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what choices, like, it was like if you start at a tree trunk and work your way out to the branches, And all the forks are potential life choices, significant life choices that not only I was making, but other people were making too. And I could see it all. I reviewed millions of them all at once. And I made certain requests for this life, certain characteristics I wanted to experience. I knew that the mother and father were very important. I could feel the energy of the mother and father, who, like their qualities. I could even feel the nature of their love, like what their relationship was like. I knew that my father would instill confidence in me, and that confidence would give me a rock to stand on so I could face this fear. And so I remember there having to be a moment to say yes, and I don't remember that moment. Yeah, go ahead.
To make you a question that I've never heard about.
Yeah.
That was if the mother that you have in that occasion, in that moment, was the same mother that you had before, because you have said that in this possibility, in the first possibility that you are remembering, you killed yourself. No?
Yeah, I mean, I killed the body.
Yes.
I'm not the body, so I didn't kill myself, but I did kill the body. Yeah.
This is not the first time that I've listened to this, because there are some masters of regression that are talking about this too. The conscious that is in the bomb can kill herself or himself. So this is not.
So I'll just say one thing: the spirit is the life giver. It is the engine. It's the living force of the body. It animates the body.
Yeah.
So if the life force, if the spirit decides no, and fights, then the body has no choice. It can't continue without the sustaining force of the consciousness. Yeah.
Yes, and my question is, if you remember, if you know, if the mother in which you were was the same at that point that in the next.
No. In my case, they were not the same mother. I mean, I'm sure that's possible in some cases.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sure that is possible in some cases. But in my case, no, it was not the same mother. Okay. I don't know who that mother was. I just know that the energy of the life and the energy of the family context was very different. So I don't believe it was the same mother, no.
So after this first occasion, you went to the middle place between lives, and then you have decided again to come here.
Yes. Yes.
And finally you did it.
So they brought me this life because I still had the same intention. And so so the guides are very good at reviewing the database, you could say, like a database of available incarnation opportunities. I know it sounds strange, but you could think of it like a video game maybe. And there's avatars that are available. And each one has a life path and a biology. And actually, I knew in this life that this biology had limitations that other biologies don't. And it would actually be harder to be this human body than others. And I knew that was actually really useful. So anyway, so I'm just saying, yes, they brought me this life as an opportunity. It was not as good of a fit as the first one would have been for my intention, but it was good enough. It was pretty good. Because I had a very specific intention, and this life was a pretty good match. The first one was like a really good match. Very interesting, yeah.
So can you tell us how was your process of incarnation?
Yes.
How did you get from that place to this body?
Yes. Yeah. So in order to describe this, there's an assumption we have to do away with. The assumption is that there's really a physical thing called a body, and we are something else, and we're stuck inside of that object. That's not exactly accurate. The more accurate way to put it is that consciousness is what is. Spirit is the real thing. And then within spirit, vibration occurs. And so this is hard to describe. So so spirit is connected to all consciousness, all things, everywhere, all things. And so the state we come from is very high vibration, very connected, very all-knowing. very fast, very high bandwidth, very rich, like not very low limitations, almost no limitations, you know. Whereas this is a very well-defined limitation set, very dense, very extreme. So I experienced accepting the veil and entering the body as a plummet in vibration in the body of my awareness. So it was like going from a very high vibration down, 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 lower, 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 even more, lower, more, lower, more, lower, 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 then more low. You know, just it felt like so low, like turning a knob down, lower, 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 more, and you think you're at the bottom, and you go down some more, and then you go down some more. That's how it felt, coming all the way down into this bodily experience. And it was not only, you know, low vibration and dense. It was very dense. It felt like being shoved inside of a small metal can. It also felt empty, like no heat, like, you know, like no air or something like that. It was like dense, cold, empty, cut off, not connected to my, you know, like I lost my knowing. So it was a very stark, you know, very shocking transition. Whereas death is kind of the opposite. Death is a release of constraints. So death is actually much more wonderful and easy, natural, you know, just seamless transition. But incarnation is very, very abrupt, and I don't know how to describe it. Very shocking, I guess, is a good word. Very, very rigorous. Yeah, and so yes, you could think of it like the spirit enters the body, but it's more like the consciousness takes on the thick blanket, the thick veil, the thick cloak of all the limitations of the body, you know, and then wears it, you know, and then it occurs. So it's occurring within your consciousness. Actually, it's not really that you are in a body. It's more like your body is an experience happening in you.
Yeah. You have done a little comparison. Yes, you have done it with the near-death experience or with the process of death. This is one point very important in my researching, because I've seen that a lot of things that are happening in one door for the existence are happening in the other, but
yes,
it's the same. And you have said
it's the
here,
same, yeah.
Yes, you have said here and in other interviews that I have been listening to, some things like, for example, the concept you have to turn this body. This is very dense.
Yes, very dense. Yep.
Other concepts like, let me remember, that everything was connected in the other place, and bueno. Now I have listening to you talking about the revision of life, that I think this I have never listened to you this, and I think there's something more that I want to remember. I don't know, but what do you think? Yes, something important. When we listen about near-death experiences, one very important point that I'm always listening to is that people who come from the death,
other side,
the other side, always say that their life changed after this experience. And as we can see, your experience is very similar, but in the other door. So I want you to tell us if this experience of remembering has changed your life in any way.
Yes, for sure. So the thing is, it's so real. It's more real than this. And so you can't help but have a complete paradigm shift. You can't help it. It's just, when you see the more real, the less real becomes less, I don't want to say less important, because this life is actually very important, but it becomes, it's put in context. You know, so for me, personally, it's difficult to describe the personal transformation. I feel like I relate to life itself differently. I feel like I've been able to find a way. I've been able to find a joy and a freedom and an openness and a confidence that is just so natural when we know who we really are. Like, what can possibly threaten you, kind of thing. Now, my lifestyle itself, I have made certain changes that have been significant for me. Like, I've taken periods off of work. Right now, I'm working, but I took long periods off of work here and there because I couldn't focus in that direction. I really needed more time to be of service and to just enjoy life. Like, enjoying life itself is more important than
Yes.
doing things, like actually just being in joy, and like you actually serve the universe just by having fun, and just by watching a stream and appreciating it. Like, that's what we're here to do, not to take life so seriously. So right now, I like, one of my big challenges now is, how do I navigate mainstream work? Because I do want to support my family. I have 2 kids and a wife, and so, that's an important role to me. So I work a mainstream job, but in the long run, I know that I'm going to be moving away from that, because it's just very difficult for me to come down to the vibration of mainstream corporate America is, there's a lot of falsehood, a lot of egoic, there's a lot of egoic action taking place. Whereas this type of experience calls us to authenticity and vulnerability.
Yeah.
Like, we think vulnerability is a weakness. No, I'm vulnerable. Like, I have weak days. I have days of pain. It's okay. We need to be okay with what we feel.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to describe, because it's the answer is not so much. I mean, there have been circumstantial changes. For me, it's more about how I relate to reality. There's been changes for our family, that's for sure, because I decided eventually, okay, I'm going to share this. And once I shared this, it took on a life of its own. Also, I wrote the book. I felt spirit come to me for 6 years, actually. Piece by piece by piece, spirit came to me, and I felt these intuitive chunks of the book arriving. And then it actually helped me arrange the book. It's a non-linear book. It's very not the way I would probably write. If I was going to sit down and write a book, I'd probably write it more traditionally. But the format of it, even, it's like spirit-led. So for me, those are the impacts. It's like, I can't help but try to share.
Yeah.
Like, I remember saying to my wife, this sounds silly. It is silly. But I said to my wife one day, like, I'm going to put flyers, pieces of paper in people's mailboxes, and I'm going to say, you are a multidimensional being having a human experience, and there's nothing to fear. And I was going to put that in people, and my wife said, no, you can't do that. Then you'll be that guy, the strange person. And I said, oh, I know, of course. I can't do that. I'm just saying that I want that, like, you can't help but want to share. Like, out-of-body experiences are like that too. It's not just this memory. To me, it's all one big door. Yeah. So when you have an out-of-body experience that's more rich, more vibrant, much, much, much more colorful.
Yes.
Than anything that we've seen here.
It's the same thing that the people who has experienced a near-death experience said. Yeah. It's the same thing. More color, more intense, more
real.
More real. More real.
Vibrant.
It's the same.
Yes.
It's the same. And the other thing that I listen to you now, that is, one more time, the same, yeah, is that you have said that it was very difficult for you to come back to the normal life. No?
Yes. Yeah, because the vibration of what we're doing on Earth is it. So I don't mean to make this sound like duality is real, because we actually transcend all of duality. Okay, I know that sounds strange, but the spirit transcends all the duality, all the up and down, all the left and right, all the hot and cold. Like, all of that arises within spirit. Anyway, but that being said, the vibration of the Earth experience is very low by comparison. Very low, shockingly low. So it's a little bit like I've used the metaphor. It's like Mount Everest, the tall mountain that everybody climbs. It's so hard to climb, right? Well, it's so cold up there, and there's no air, and people die just trying to make the climb. Well, being on Earth is kind of like that. It's like so extreme vibrationally. So what is extreme about it? It's a very extreme experience of separation, We feel separate from each other here.
Yeah.
That's not normal. like what I mean is in the multiverse, like in the much bigger context from which we come, it is not the standard.
Yeah.
It's not the standard to feel separate. We feel our connectedness, and we know that we're a part of each other, and it's beautiful. And so unconditional love is very natural because the other is a part of you, and we are a part of Source, you see? So now on Earth, we're pushing the boundaries. How separate can we perceive ourselves to be? That's what the veil permits, is this opportunity to experience separation to this depth. And that is a very extreme contrast. It's like extreme sports or something. So when we see that and then we come back here, it's like, oh my gosh, this is alien. This is like an alien place. Now, now what do I do? You know?
Yes.
Now, so I actually feel grateful that I'm still veiled.
Yeah.
You know, because I am still veiled. I've seen certain glimpses, I've had certain experiences, but I actually am thankful I'm veiled because it protects us from that homesickness, you know. Whereas I know some near-death experiencers who have really had their veil punctured and they can't function anymore because their homesickness is so deep.
Yes. Maybe you want to share with us how it's possible that you can remember this, because everybody has lived this experience, it's supposed.
Something like it.
Yes, something similar, more or less. But how is possible that you can remember this and you don't have the complete veil? How is it possible?
Yeah. So, okay. So what happens in the physical, the veil is just a limiter.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually, it can't change who you really are. That's really important to lift up. The veil is just a set of limitations, neutral limitation, extreme limitations, but neutral. Okay, so now why do I say that? Why is that so important? The reason it's so important is you are still spirit. You are still consciousness. You are still that which is connected to the all. But the reason that we don't commonly see it or remember it is because of the veil, we tend to become form associated. So what I mean is all the thoughts, all the sense data, all the sight, all the sound, all the touch, all the feeling, all the body, we become associated into it, meaning we identify into it. So if you go and like look at little babies or little kids, they're veiled, but they're not as deeply associated into the form yet. So they tend to, like little babies will go out of body much more easily. They just, it's normal for them. They come back, they go out, they come back. It's fine. It's no big deal because they're not really associated that deeply yet. But as we grow and our parents teach us, this is who you are, this is your name, and they say it a few thousand times, now you more and more get associated. Oh, I'm the form now, you see? So it is that association into it that really is why we don't see the higher nature. So the metaphor for that is it's like watching a movie in a movie theater. So when you're staring at the movie screen, you may think you're in the movie. Like you might forget the room. You forget you're in a theater. You're so focused on the movie, you're in the movie practically. That's like it here on Earth for the human experience. We are focused so much into the thinking, into the stories, into the conditioning, into the sense data. We're so focused into it that we don't remember we're in the theater anymore. So in my case, meditation, I didn't know this is what I was doing, but meditation is like not looking at the screen anymore and looking back toward yourself in the seat. And yourself in the seat is your consciousness, your awareness itself, just your awareness itself. And as we take time, you have to take time, take energy, take focus, use your intention to turn back and just very objectively and alertly investigate, what am I? Beneath thought, beneath all thought. What am I? Go feel it, go see it, go experience it. Don't settle for any stories, no new stories, no new ideas, actually. Just go experience it. That is like gradually training yourself to look away from the movie. And one day, You realize you're in a movie theater, not because you went anywhere, you see, but because you shifted your attention, you shifted your focus, and you let go of the form. So the way I like to describe it is, it's like the larger you rises up to you on its own. You don't have to do anything. It's more about letting go of what you're not, you see.
So it's something that maybe everybody can do.
Yes, so it is something anyone technically can do, because that's just what you are. like when I know that sounds silly maybe, but I really mean it. You are your consciousness. Like as a simple example, just to make it physical, like, where is your 5-year-old body? Where is it? Show me your 5-year-old body. Oh no, it's gone.
Yeah.
You know, it's not here anymore. None of it is here. But you're still here. You know, your consciousness is, you're still you. That is the case even if the entire body is dead. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Like, you're always you. It's a seamless experience of you as your consciousness. So how much do we take time to focus in that direction? You know, versus the thoughts and the sense data. Anybody can do that.
Okay, fantastic. We have 5 minutes to get to the
Sure.
end of this fantastic interview, and I'm very grateful. I want to ask you something more, if you can tell me. Maybe you can describe us how was the other place before you came here into the existence in the earth, and the I don't know how to say this in English. The things that you have been, that you had spoke with your guide to come here, the things that you want to do here, or you need to learn here, or something like that. I don't know the word, but I think you understand me.
Okay.
How was that?
So to your first question, okay, so it's very difficult to describe the other side, because it's not just one place. It would be like if you lived in a video game your whole life, and then someone said, well, what's Earth like? Well, there's a lot of stuff you can do on Earth. Right? There's a lot of places you can go. There's a lot of different types of weather, a lot of different countries, a lot of different terrain, a lot of different temperatures. It's, you know. So we come from a much, 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 much bigger context. It's very difficult to speak to that. I can say that most realities are thought responsive. So your thought alone is action. And so if you want to talk to somebody, you just need to intend, and you can reach out and speak with them. I remember, so we like to know, tell me what I saw, what I heard. You know, we like tangible sense data. It's bigger than that, okay? But I remember seeing and being in a realm of golden light that was rich and alive and beautiful, and being able to move with a whim, with a thought. And I remember being able to visit our universe. Our universe is just like one, you know, big playground. I remember being able to visit this universe and see it, and even travel through it and visit, like, see stars and move through space. Though it's not, it's a slightly different layer, but it's like right on top of ours. So, and I remember certain places that look like rooms that had certain functions, like in the higher realms, there's a geography is vibrational. So intentionality behind a place makes it the thing it is. So for instance, one place there was a room that was built to allow spirits to practice surrendering to a veil. You know, so how do you describe that? Well, it's kind of like a big swimming pool. It's the best way I can, best metaphor. It's just a metaphor, but it's like getting dunked underwater and having this vibration come over you, and you get to try to surrender to it. See, so how do you describe that? So there's a lot to it. And there's, of course, much I don't remember. I'm very veiled, but yeah, it's way too hard to speak to. To your second question, you know, what am I here to do? What am I here to experience? So I'm here to integrate that fear I mentioned. It's a very specific fear, and to really heal that, really come to terms with that, and to really come to terms with this depth of vibration, because I'm engaging the physical very deeply in a very sensitive way. That makes it harder, actually. So I'm trying to really allow all of that sensitivity Like, for instance, 2 weeks ago, I was in a car accident. My car was destroyed. I was hit from behind. It was very violent. So, yes, it was very shocking, but I did not reject. I tried to allow, wow, I feel shocked. Wow, I was just hit. Wow, I'm going to the hospital to get checked out. I can't focus my eyes. I have swelling behind my eye. It's okay, I'm healing. Ended up being minor injuries, but the point is psychologically, it's like, okay, this is here now. Can I accept this? You see, can I not make enemies of this? How do I relate to this? That's what it's all about. It's how do we relate to that which has arisen? What's our relationship to the present moment, whatever is here? If we can really accept it all, really feel it all, that allows this incredible transformation of the being, an expansion of consciousness. That's what we're here to do. Yeah, and another way to put that is we're here to choose, like another angle of that, a very important angle of it is we're here to choose love rather than fear. That's just a very simple way to put all of that. Love and all the things love can mean versus fear, which is ego, and all the things ego can mean. Which do we choose now? You see that? So that means something different for each of us, and I'm seeking to explore that and understand that and know that in my own life, just as we all are. Yeah.
Wow, it's an incredible message to end this interview. I don't know if you want to add something more to tell us.
I'll add one thing. So there's nothing to fear. I know it doesn't look like that on the surface. I know. There is nothing actually to fear. This is like a huge illusion. It's okay. It's a real experience. Your true nature is love and peace and joy. You cannot truly be harmed. Those you love cannot truly be harmed. There is actually nothing to fear. Like, if we can keep that in mind, then we're able to go out into our lives and make choices that are more free, more authentic, more in alignment with love and compassion and fearlessness. Yeah. That's so important.
Yeah. I love this message. I think it's really, really deep. And Christian Southern, I'm very, very, very grateful for your presence here and for your present with your time for us. Thank you very, very much.
Of course.
And I hope to see you one more time.
Excellent. Thank you for your important work. The research in this area is important for the human race to figure out what's going on.
I think yes. I'll send it to you. Okay.
Please. Thank you. Thank you so much. Much love.
Thank you very much. Much love. Thank you.
Thank you.